Your house is worth whatever it's worth, right? Whoever sells it. Wrong. I'm Charlie. Welcome to Moving Home with Charlie, and thank you for coming.
Charlie Landing grew up in Sussex, is the founder of Best Agent and presenter of Moving Home with Charlie.
If you want to find one of these guys, look out for those compassionate professionals. All estate agents are not the same.
So, Charlie, what would be your advice for people interested in buying new builds right now?
Don't overpay. Do buy, but don't overpay. That's why I say disregard the guff. Read into the numbers and look, and it's buried. The bad news is buried in the small print, okay?
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Property Press Awards.
They may or may not be telling the truth, but you should form your own view. Get out and view, get out and view, get out and view. You cannot be in a position to make offers and have the offers accepted if you're not viewing. Just be out there viewing. Pay attention to the back of the class. If you've not been watching my videos, I did one just a couple of days ago. Disregard the guff, guys.
Still slurping, huh?
Are you sober? I forgot to ask.
Mostly. I've had 2 glasses of red wine this evening, so that for me is very much sober.
Okay, but you sound reasonably coherent, but then you fooled me before and come onto a live stream sounding coherent and sensible, and then started calling everyone a you-know-what. And I'm not going to go there too early because the videos get strikes and warnings of inappropriate content. So
would you like me to watch my language this evening?
For the first few minutes, and after that, they don't seem to mind so much.
Okay, cool. No problem.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to an impromptu late night live stream discussion between me and my old friend Alex Groundwater, who you guys affectionately dubbed Housing Stig some time ago. And where to start? Right. I had a look at the analytics. I was telling Alex this just before we came on camera, and I said, there's a lot. I've got a lot of new followers, and a lot of the stuff that I say is very confusing for new followers who don't know my stance on certain things. And I've also had an extra high number of new followers on X recently, thousands. Don't know why that's happened. And right now, about half, we've got 50-50 following us on X and YouTube right now. And I'm being called lots of names under the sun: hard left, hard right, idiot. Just all of these things.
Have you been called a Nazi yet?
Probably a lot of times. There's now, because the engagement on my X account is kind of blowing up. I don't get to see all of it. There's a lot that I just don't see at all. I mean, I could easily spend all day just on X, easily, and still wouldn't see everything.
That does not sound healthy. You should get a VPN, mate.
But I wanted to, for the benefit of all the new followers, new viewers, are relatively recent, who don't really understand what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and my stance on a few things. I thought I would just come on live stream this evening, take questions if you've got them on this, or be challenged. And I thought, I know, why don't I just see if Alex is around, wants to join me, and you can call me out on anything I say that's where I'm contradicting myself, or just saying something that's plain wrong, or whatever. You just disagree with it. You want to have it out.
Always do.
But thank you for coming at the drop of a hat like that. That's very cool. Now, the stated goal of what I'm doing with my career, this channel, Best Agent, which is my national property site, for those who don't know, that is kind of like, it's in pre-production, it's live, but it's not fully launched. There's still stuff going on. The simple goal is a home for everyone. I've always thought that should be possible in this country. It is possible. And it's not just about rough sleepers and people in temporary accommodation. It's about everyone understanding how to go about getting the home that you really want. And when I say a home for everyone, I really mean the home you really would like. Not necessarily your dream, whatever, but just a decent home. Somewhere you're happy to come home to after a day's hard work. Somewhere you might be happy to raise a family. Somewhere, you know what I mean? Happy to have friends.
When you say that, Charlie, just to be clear, Are you talking about owning that home or renting that home, or it doesn't matter as long as it's the home that you want to live in?
Correct. It is whatever suits you, and there are times when one is more appropriate than the other based on people's personal circumstances. And of course, everyone will argue, "Oh no, it's much better to buy than rent," and that's just not true. That's an oversimplification that's been beaten into the lenders and agents and the government for decades.
Yeah.
Beaten into, I mean, bludgeoned into people's heads so effectively that people will come around your house and pick a fight with you if you dare ever suggest that renting might be better than buying sometimes.
It's nuts that in the 50s, the 40s, 50s, and 60s, renting was seen as a natural step for most people, and that could have been private or social, predominantly social. And then, and to be fair, much as I supported many of Thatcher's policies, it was Thatcher who started the idea that everyone must own their own home. And there are some good reasons for that, but there are also, as we've now found, some things that make that very difficult. But Blair continued that and kept advertising and pumping the idea that owning your own property was the key to happiness and success in the future. And so you're quite right. It has been going on now for at least 45 years, whereas if you went back 80 years, perfectly normal to be a renter, perfectly accepted, a natural stage in life.
Well, back then they didn't have Instagram landlords to contend with.
Yeah, with Lambos. I love a Lambo. They were
Exactly.
tractors back
Instagram,
then.
a Lambo landlord, and so I'll continue my ramble for a little bit just to give. I want to try and give a good summary of my position on all of these things. Right, buying or renting, whatever you want to do, whatever home suits you the best, suits your circumstances, whatever. I'm here to help you because I've spent starting to lose count now. 30. It's over 30 years.
Many years working in around the property industry. I've got background in the city. It makes me laugh. I get people telling me that I don't understand economics. Well, I did actually do it for a living for a while and got qualifications. I was authorized by the Securities and Futures Authority to carry on investment advice. Not that I'm claiming that makes a lot of sense, but I did have those few years in the city, and it was fascinating learning how global financial markets work and commodities markets and the whole lot and interest rates. And my speciality was actually short sterling interest rate futures. That was where I did most of my work, but I did foreign exchange stuff and everything else as well. And then I found myself working in the property industry, first of all, trying to cut out estate agents, thinking that there were charlatans and thieves. And now that the internet was here in the mid-90s, no one ever needs an estate agent again, which is how most of the new tech startups in the property industry start up, and which is why most of them die. Because in the face of all this technology and internet that's happened in the last 30 years, nearly everyone chooses of their own free will to use an estate agent to sell their house, right? That is the inalienable, inescapable fact and truth. And there's a good reason for it. Because all of the absolute monkeys who go, "Oh, it's easy to sell a house." First of all, you've never been an estate agent. Secondly, you've never tried to sell your own house. Yes, there are exceptions. There's always a couple of clever dicks who've done it, and that's great. There's always one or two of you. But generally speaking, for most people selling their house, it's an inexplicably complicated, nasty, disastrous minefield and a shitty game with snakes and vipers waiting to just get their fangs into you in a 30-year contract where you're going to be bleeding to pay that contract off, whether it's insurance or mortgage or anything else. And I'm here to share everything that I've learned from behind the scenes as a technology provider to estate agents. Never been an agent, consulted to many agents, big and small, huge national corporations, one-man bands, everything in between, all around the country. And I've designed and built more estate agency CRMs than any other individual person in this country. And that's been fascinating, an absolutely fascinating insight. I regret to inform everyone that I was partially responsible for Dexter's unbelievable growth rate in the early 2000s. When they took on the first system that I had, that they told me just turbocharged their growth, and they're now London's biggest estate agent and biggest pile of problems. They and Foxtons. Anyway, so
For those of you who do follow me on X, and I think right now, yeah, it's more than half of you watching right now watching on X. So you follow me on X and you'll see that every day I post a lot. And sometimes it doesn't appear to be about moving house, but actually everything that I post, almost everything, I occasionally do film recommendations. Don't know why I like doing it. But everything that I post is perhaps not directly, but indirectly relevant to the goal of people being able to find and buy or rent a secure, stable home. And I get people saying, stay in your lane every time I talk about politics. Stay in your lane, Charlie. And I'm like, well, yeah, if you don't think politics has anything to do with housing, that's why your housing things aren't working out how you'd hoped, because the mess, the absolute state of the housing market that we're in right now, the housing crisis, the dysfunction of the actual housing moving market itself is mostly down to politics, right? So affordability, would you agree with me that the problem with affordability is mostly down to government policy and government intervention in the housing market?
Intervention and regulation, yes. It's the availability of credit, which they have tacitly allowed with the FSA and then the FCA, has caused the biggest bubble. And then, of course, every time they intervene with stamp duty holidays, with help to buy, with every single government intervention, you can look at the data going back to the 1950s, and you can see the government interfere, house prices form a bubble, then they fall, except after 2008. Where they fell in real terms, but actually, because we kept interest rates at 0.5%, and even though wages stagnated, they sat there at a pretty nominal standard level. And then as soon as you introduced help to buy, and then later the stamp duty holidays and so on and so forth, actually, nominally, they rocketed up. In real terms, they didn't. In real terms, if you take London, which is, the biggest bubble ever since 2016 was the peak, and since then they've actually been declining, but people don't see it because they only work in nominal. But I agree with you, government intervention and lack of regulation, or at least not telling. Rachel Reeves has just told the FCA that they should loosen all their regulations on lending and allow banks to lend at higher multiples for longer time. That is where politicians are ridiculous.
So my point of view is that if you can't afford a house, it has nothing whatsoever to do with estate agents. Estate agents are guilty of many, many transgressions that we will get onto in a minute, right? But actual housing market affordability, they don't help themselves because they like to pump the guff about house prices, but they actually have no control or power over prices whatsoever. And so the lack of affordability, blame number one, government, number two, lenders. Government and lenders. And I say lenders because lenders provide these products to help keep prices going, and lenders keep on putting out press releases and narratives that support this record house price.
But lenders can only do what the regulators allow, and the regulators are influenced by the government. So you're quite right. The root of all evil is not money or women. It is the government.
To be precise, it's housing policy. Yeah? To be precise, it's the policy decisions taken by government that affect the housing market. So my point being is, like, there's a systemic issue. It's not that the government's trying to fuck the housing market up. They just do it without even trying.
Yeah. Well, that's in the same way that Rachel Reeves would tell you that increasing employers' national insurance was not going to have any impact on employment. And yet we've lost 200,000 jobs in the job market. Because employers have to pay it, so they don't employ the staff. I mean, they're just, I can't believe they're that dumb, but it does appear that they really are that dumb.
It's difficult to fathom.
Yeah.
I'm being deadly serious here, not trying to be funny or ironic. It is difficult to fathom how, despite decades of evidence that every time the government intervenes in the housing market, it makes everything worse. They just keep doing it, and no one ever helps them. And I saw a quote, someone saying, you do it once, it's a mistake. You do it twice, it's a decision.
But they look you in the eye and they say, we are helping first-time buyers. By loosening lending, we are going to help first-time buyers. And Charlie, this is I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I sit with people every day who tell me and they honestly look me in the eye, and they are the most socially conscious people I know, and they're lovies, and they're left wing, and they're very woke, and they go, we are going to develop these properties, and they're going to be affordable. It's going to be fantastic. They are 24 square meter co-living spaces. You get a bedroom and a bathroom. You're going to share your kitchen and your sitting room with 4 people you don't know, and we're going to charge £1,450 for this. No, it's not in Mayfair. It's out in the bloody sticks, not even in any city centre. And they genuinely think that they are helping the problem.
Which is actually, I mean, what you've just described is why it's almost the case of all hope is lost. Almost.
Shelter as a service, mate.
Well, yes, comrade. We'll come on to that. So and at the end, also everyone that's watching can tell me whether or not you think I'm a Marxist or a Nazi. Okay. because I get called both or similar, and no one believes that I'm politically neutral. And I'm going to explain that I genuinely am. For fuck's sake, how can I be called hard right when I voted for Jeremy Corbyn the last time he stood in election?
That is not hard right.
I am not hard right.
It's nuts, but it's not hard right.
I can remember my reasons were that I thought the Tory government's treatment, or in particular of nurses and frontline people like that, at that particular time was unspeakable and unforgivable. And at that time, even though I don't agree with many of his policies, I was unable to vote for anyone else. He was the least bad option at the time. So
why is everything these days the least bad option? Why is there never a good option?
I know. Anyway, so government number one. So this genuinely, for everyone who's frustrated about the housing crisis, okay, it is number one government. That's why I talk about politics a lot, because until and unless the government stops and has a rethink, the problem's not going to go away. It's not going to go away. It's not going to go away, right? The government doesn't have a fucking clue how the housing market works. It doesn't have a clue how the new house building market works either. It just does what it's told by its donors and sponsors and lobbyists. That's a whole segment. We can do another video on that another night. We're not going in new house building tonight. That's just it's just a fucking hornet's nest in itself. Governments, lenders, and the thing is, right? People say, "Oh, billionaires are the problem." No. Fucking banks are the problem. It is banks that are the problem. I actually saw a post on X this evening talking about the banks' profits and the big banks and Lloyd's and this profit and that profit. And they go, therefore, we must tax billionaires. What the fuck are the billionaires got to do with banks? You absolute fuck trumpets. What, it's the...
Okay, so if you're allowed to say fuck trumpets, I must be allowed to start swearing now.
Yes. You can be guided by my level of swearing, and we'll.
Oh, thank fuck for that.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, we blame government number one. We blame lenders number two, because, and I, having spent time in corporations and small businesses and knowing people high up in banks and in. It's not that the banks want to fuck you over, which is the popular narratives. Oh, banks, they just hate us and want to fuck us over.
They just want profit.
They just want to hit targets. They just want to hit targets.
If it happens to fuck you over, they don't care.
Yes. And it's not their fault. It's not their fault. It's policy. It's their boss.
Exactly.
It's someone they don't know from several levels up who's issued an edict about what targets must be met.
I was just following orders, sir. let's get the Nazi stuff in there early.
Yes. Heil. I mean, yes, sir. But it is literally that, right? And the banks are, and this is the point, right? There are actually good people who are employees of the banks doing their jobs, being asked to promote mortgage products. Lewis, the broker that you and I both know very well, is kind of exasperated at this rash of wild products coming out with six times salary and borrow forever and
40 years, 0% deposit. Fantastic.
Did you see his very good article in iNews? He wrote an article on iNews all about why he's a broker. His job is to help people borrow money, and he thinks it's a terrible idea, right? So blame government number one. All the governments, right? This is why I'm not political. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Tory, Labour, they've all fucked it.
They've all done it.
They've all fucked it. Okay, so I'm not. So honestly, I am very neutral is one word, or fucking angry with all of them is another way of putting it. Yeah, government, lenders, and in the lenders category, I now include the portals, right? Because Rightmove and Zoopla both have very deep ties with lenders.
Oh, yes.
Very deep ties with lenders. And Rightmove and Zoopla, Rightmove much more than Zoopla, right? Rightmove just goes puff, 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 pump, 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 record, asking prices, and just ignore the fact that our average UK house price is 100 grand more than the ONS's average house price. Dude, that's the ONS. It's everything is about pumping prices. Zoopla, you and I both spoke with Richard Donnell. He's a top guy. I really like
Nice guy, really nice guy,
and he does feel like a truth seeker. He's like, I just want to see what's going on. Did you see that he's revised his house price forecast for 2025 down this year?
Yeah.
And I wanted to say to everyone, by the way, so that's Savills, Rightmove, and Zoopla all in a week have revised down their forecast for 2025.
Yeah.
From 4% in one case to 1%. All of them are now 1%. You only do that as a corporation when not doing it would make you look even more stupid than doing it.
Exactly.
Right? They only do it because, like, if we don't drop it, we're going to look really fucking stupid.
Yes,
so
when it actually goes negative rather than just a little bit positive. It's like the GDP figures. You know, they publish and then they get revised down later. Because by then it's in the rear view and you don't notice the fact that they've actually revised the 2 quarters previously down a bit.
Do you know what? Thank God for Sasha Yanshin. The detail he goes into that actually reveals the fuckery that happens with their own figures and their press releases.
Yeah.
If you aren't watching Sasha Yanshin, Sasha Takes on UK, all he does is break down the actual government spreadsheets that they use in the ONS's data calculation and shows you exactly what's happening and why it's utter bullshit.
Yeah.
So he doesn't just honestly, if you haven't, just Sasha Yanshin, Sasha Takes on UK, go and check it out and it will explain to you. Watch his videos. They break it down exactly how the manipulation is happening.
And let's look at it the other way around, just from the house builder perspective. When we say, yes, they've reduced just a little bit, so they've cut their growth forecast. Let's bear in mind that the biggest house builders in the UK, so people like Taylor Wimpey, whatever they're called now.
£92 million loss.
Yeah, Persimmon, Berkeley Homes, Vistry, their share price in the last year, all of them have dropped by between 30 and 60%. Does that
today?
Yeah, does that suggest to you, well, it's down about 40% for a year. Does that suggest to you that housing is doing well? Because if new builds, the reason that their share prices dropped is because their buildings are not selling. And if they're not selling and they're not making revenue and they're also not making profit, but they're still paying out, what does that tell you? What does that tell you about the market? There were people 2 years ago who were saying, oh, well, if you're so confident, Charlie, why don't you short the housing market? To which there is no instrument to short the housing market, except you could short the builders. Mm-hmm. And if you had done for the last year, you would have had somewhere between a 30 and 60% return. Well, that's not so bad.
Exactly. And this is where I come back to my point about how house prices can only go up has been beaten. It's almost in the DNA now. You inherit it from your parents. If you're a Gen Zer, you have literally inherited in the DNA from both of your parents who had it bludgeoned into their heads that house prices cannot go up, bricks and mortar, you can't go wrong, safe as houses, blah, 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 must buy, borrow as much as you can, save as much as you can, spend whatever it takes to get on the housing ladder no matter what. It's generations have been drilling that into this country's, which is why everyone goes out and overpays. And it's why I push back against overpaying. It's why my number one message is if you want a home, and you found one you can afford, always buy never overpay.
Yeah.
And yes, it needs. So that's my message. So, but what really worries me now is that as wage growth continues to flatline, falter, even fall, as people's prospects appear to disappear before their eyes.
Hang on, Charlie. You wanted me to call you out. So wage growth has not faltered, stagnated, or fallen. This is the surprising thing. And Patricia is top of your comments there. Wage growth has actually...
I meant per head, so GDP per head.
Okay, so not wages, so productivity.
Yeah, so I'm talking about real world disposable income, right? I'm talking about actual quality of life and ability to afford stuff. Because, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole right now, but everyone knows that, yes, you take wage growth into account, but that's not taking into account actual inflation, like owner-occupier housing inflation at 7 or 8%, and all these other things, you know. So yes, officially, according to ONS figures, you know, that's all we've got, right? That's all we've got to go on. Wage growth is positive. Let's just take that face value. But even though it is, take home income,
why?
Fiscal drag. I mean, look at what fiscal drag's doing to people's actual take home income.
Exactly. But sorry, what you've got to understand, and this is where Patricia made this point 2 years ago, that when you get into this sort of economy, especially when somebody adds taxes to employers, what happens is actually the low paid, the people on minimum wage, which has been increased so much, are not employed. What that means is you're left with a smaller pool of workers who are on higher wages. And the way that the average wage is calculated in the UK only is based on full-time employees. And therefore, it appears that wages are going up. It appears. That is not actually the case. And when you work out the fiscal drag with the additional tax burden, you are absolutely right that people are still poorer than they were. But it's really important for the people watching to understand, because they may go, oh no, but I've seen the charts and wage growth is up. Yeah, not for the reasons that you think, and it's not having the impact that you would expect.
Yeah, exactly. And again, so let's just try and keep coming back to my primary point, which is people watching this channel, watching in the hope that they're going to be able to afford a house one day, are cheering for house price crash. Hey, house price crash, and that's not a good idea. It only helps a small group of people once, and then it doesn't help anyone else or anything else, and it causes a lot of harm. And people that you know will lose their homes. And honestly, I do not and have not cheered for a house price crash ever. I have said that I expect house prices to slide. I continue to do that, and I continue to see that happening in the next couple of years. But it's not a good idea for house prices to crash. It only helps those people who are waiting to buy right now. It doesn't help anybody else, right? It just actually causes a lot of problems. So don't cheer for a house price crash just because. I mean, do house prices need to come down? Yes, but if house prices carry on doing what they're doing, which is basically flatlining, going down at the higher levels, sort of flatlining at the lower levels, whilst wage growth increases, then for those of us lucky enough to keep our jobs, affordability is improving.
Exactly. The best of all worlds is if house prices stagnate and wages increase, and therefore affordability, the multiple of your wage to your house, reduces.
And you heard that here first, viewers. You heard that. You heard me and Alex saying that 3 years ago. Best case scenario, house prices stagnate, wages keep going up. Well, hey, guess what? This is the good news channel. There's no doom and gloom here. We have the best case scenario happening as we've asked for 3 years ago. Flatlining house prices, wages going up, affordability improving. Everything's fine. It's all roses. It's all gravy, Alex.
Affordability has improved currently from multiple of 8.9 median salary to median house price to multiple of 7.8. So we're down 1.1, but it ain't anywhere near enough, and it's about to go horribly wrong.
Well, this is the point. So it is. I mean, that's good. That is an improvement, right? Houses are getting slowly more affordable. And in a way that's not causing too much damage, apparently. Although people selling detached houses have been having a shocker for the last few years. Most people in the country selling larger detached houses are having an absolute shocker. But there's no clear data to show that. I mean, that James Twallin on Otter Properties is doing a fantastic job with that, I think.
Yes.
Anyway, so if you're angry because you can't afford a home, start with decades of government, both sides. I'm not on either side, right? And what we all need our government to be doing. Stay in your lane, Charlie. It's the housing channel. Fuck off. This is my fucking lane, right? This is the point. If you don't understand this, it's why the whole country has carried on voting for this shit, and we're in this predicament because people don't think that housing has anything to do with politics. That's everything to do with politics. Oh, by the way, when I was just muttering about my CV earlier, I studied politics, so I have this like a tiny little bit of actual knowledge about politics and how it works too. So my biggest concern right now, Alex, honestly, genuinely, my biggest concern right now, I think the biggest threat to everyone's chances in this country of owning a house is Gary fucking Stevenson.
Wealth tax, fucking wealth tax to the max.
Oh, and do you know what? I'll say it right here and now. The way in which that narrative has whipped up support left, right, and center, it's being so orchestrated. I cannot tell you. This is being orchestrated from somewhere very powerful. I even saw the Fire Brigade Union putting a tweet out about it today.
Really?
Yeah. It's orchestrated. It's absolutely Fire Brigade Union. I want to find it. I'm not imagining it.
Yeah, but this is the problem now with social media. As you saw over COVID, you had orchestrated all the news, all the media networks had exactly the same message at the same time, a single script writer.
Yeah.
And it became memes on the internet because people, the world moves very fast. They don't have time. Go on.
The far right are assisting billionaires. It's just whipping up hate. It's unhelpful. And genuinely, my point about this is that it's actually going to hit the worst off hardest, ultimately. So this is the Fire Brigade Union getting into politics, talking about assisting billionaires.
It's just...
And the point is that they're right about what corporations are doing, but they are conflating corporations and billionaires, and the two things are not the same.
We don't have that many billionaires in the UK.
No, we don't. And it's the funny thing is that all the people cheering for the billionaires' head and blood and off with their heads and fuck off out the country, we don't care, and tax them, are continually pouring their money every day into into the corporations' profits.
Yeah, like
absolute monkeys, just like. Oh, literally, you got direct debits pouring into corporations. Go and look on your fucking bank statement at the corporations you're spending money with every year. Ask how many billionaires are there on your bank statement. And then the other question that these guys never ask is, let's just suppose we did do this 2% tax, wealth tax on assets over £10 million. Seems reasonable, right? It could raise £25 billion. 25 billion pounds. That sounds like a lot of money, Alex.
It's really not.
And it could maybe offset some of the government. This is my point. Like, none of them understand that money will not touch the sides. It will not touch the sides of government services. It will not stop any cuts. And
do you know how much debt we have at the moment? Roughly 2.8 trillion. I haven't looked for a while. It was 2.7, so I'm assuming it's now 2.8 trillion pounds of debt.
Isn't our monthly debt interest payment like 15 or 17 billion?
Correct.
A month?
Yeah, a month.
So,
yes.
So for everyone watching this, and I actually, Gary Stevenson took me in for a while with his whole shtick of, hey, I want to help out the poor, I want to help out the poor. And
I think there was someone who said I wasn't that impressed.
You said it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Missing my point. I was taken in. I was taken in by him. You weren't. And I thought, oh, yes, he's I agree with everything.
When I watched his first couple of videos, the key message, which was the wealth inequality, etc., I agree with those points. And
me too.
But then as soon as he started with there's a simple solution, which is we just tax. Oh, no. Oh no!
and this is where I get into. So I'm often talking about I'm often talking about, listen, if you aren't earning enough in your salaried job, you can either accept it and stay with it and whinge and complain and bitch and fucking moan about it, or you can do something about it. Look at the alternatives. Oh, not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. No, you don't have to be an entrepreneur. Being self-employed is not the same as being an entrepreneur. It just isn't, right? They're completely different things. There's a spectrum of different options outside of corporate employment for people to earn a living. And if you can't be fucked to look at them, that's on you and nobody else. But I'm talking to the people who are having an open mind and looking around at how they can earn a living. And I get shouted at me, so no, we should just tax the rich. And what it really makes me realize, Alex, is this, right? What are the most addictive substances you know of?
Sugar and cocaine and nicotine.
Sugar, cocaine, nicotine, heroin, alcohol. So I'll tell you one that's more addictive than all of those. Free money.
Oh yeah. Well, roulette, gambling. Yeah, Jesus.
I'm not joking, right? Free money is, and what I mean by I'm saying this very, very seriously. It's so addictive that if you threaten it, people get angry and lash out and do anything, as all addicts do. And I've observed this at a personal level. Individuals, when you help someone out, at every single different level, all the way up to fat cats on boards of public corporations, getting government contracts. It's the same shit.
Yeah.
It's free money. It's when the NHS is paying private companies £35 to refill a soap dispenser.
Yeah.
That is free money. Right? That when you have
take
it
away, everyone is very unhappy.
And the moment you talk about it, and so everyone who is on the receiving end of government funding wants more tax, because more tax protects their free money. And when I say free, I'm not saying they don't work for it, and certainly frontline workers definitely work extremely hard, and there's a big spectrum of people on the public payroll. At one end of the spectrum, you've got people who actually work unbelievably hard, do an amazing job, make a big difference, and get paid not enough. And then on the other end, you've got exactly the opposite. People who do getting paid huge amounts of money.
That first group of people are only working so hard to make up for the 50% of people who are doing fuck all.
Yes. Hey, look, you said hard stop at midnight, and I agree with you. We've just gone sailing through that.
Oh, well, let's sail away. Like Enya. Sail away, sail away.
Let me try and wrap it up then, because we didn't. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we're just warming up. I could go for another couple of hours, but neither of us can do that. My stance on this channel and in my career and everything I'm fighting to do is to remain politically neutral and fight for everything that improves the largest number of people's chances of getting a decent home. So that's people who are currently in temporary accommodation being able to get into a permanent, secure, rented home, for example. It's people who are trying to buy a home, but succeeding in buying a home without being ripped off or fucked over by new house builders or people tricking them into overpaying. And then it's all of these things, and helping sellers that want to move on and trying to get social mobility going and unlocking the pent-up demand to move, because that would actually put more growth into the economy than any other single thing the government could do overnight if they wanted to permanently scrap stamp duty. But whether or not they do that, what I'm working on, with your help, is to try and unlock that transaction, that pent-up transaction for people to buy a house. And I don't care what any people's politics are, but what I can tell you is this, right? The only prospect of people's wages growing sustainably is if there are businesses hiring more people on better wages. There are no other sources of sustainable growth that don't bankrupt the country. And
Yep.
that's why I'm being called a hard right fascist bastard, because I think that entrepreneurs do a good job taking risks and creating jobs. And it brings me back to this awful thing of the people who want jobs but hate employers are a bit like tenants who want a home but hate landlords. Just, I want a home. I don't fucking hate landlords. I want a job. My employer's a bastard. Anyway, yeah, it's frustrating. So
It just doesn't stack, does it?
But as you and I know, right, there are ways to bring about significant tangible improvements to the housing market, the housing market's function, and the housing crisis, just by bringing transparency to the housing market.
Yes, if people can actually see what is happening in terms of prices paid in an area at a point in time, the volume of the amount of properties on the market, transparency is everything. I've never understood why people, and it's across all businesses. Oh, you must keep secrets, keep the secrets of this, keep it hidden and spin. Just fucking be open. We've got the best tools and platforms now with all of the internet data available to make things
and the
transparent.
housing market data is there, and it's being concealed by government and lenders. On that happy note, should we wrap it up? Alex, thank you very much for joining me tonight. And for all of my existing followers and long-time followers, Patricia especially being there right from the start. Thanks for watching. Thanks everybody. Sorry we didn't get into the questions this evening. But good night. It's going to go on, I'm not going to stop.